Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? It's truly exciting. It's an exciting opportunity just to, come out and speak to everybody. Especially in this world of franchising. I've got my good buddy here. If I'm not mistaken, she's north of me in Jersey. Got Jessica Bush joining us. How you doing, Jessica?
Hey, Simeon. Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Oh man. Well, Jessica, hey, I want to get right into it because I certainly want to make sure that I respect your time, and I certainly want to thank you for the opportunity, just to kind of come in and chat with us about this world of franchising. All too often a lot of times we get wrapped up into what we're doing for kids. In our world of tutoring, we want to try to do everything that we can for kids, for the benefit of
That's it.
kids,
Yep.
for learning. But I want to take a step back if we can, if that's okay, and kind of
Yep.
talk about your personal why. Like, why do you do, not so much why do you do, tutor doctor or anything, but why franchising? What sparked your interest around this world of franchising in general?
I can tell you exactly. It was the timing of where I was at. I hit 50 and I was like, I need to find something that brings it all together for me. And because I'm not 30 or 40, I need a short term, something that's going to really launch me into what I'm doing faster than if I started something completely on my own. And that is really the reason that I went with franchising,
Hmm.
with the support and the sort of putting you on the right track in a faster way than starting something from ground zero because of my age and where I was at, within my life.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. So, in retrospect, we could always look back, and I kind of think about it. I've been through, um, I kind of have my own story. My first home, we purchased several years ago, and unfortunately, when we bought that home at the height of the market. The market crashed. And the value of my home was literally shredded to pieces, and job market was doing everything that it was doing, and it was only through that process that I started to learn a little bit more about mortgages, the home purchasing process,
The whole thing.
etc. So
Yep.
now when it came time to purchase my second home, several years later, I used those lessons to kind of propel me into decision making for the future. So when you think about, what you've done, I'm not sure if Tutor Doctor is your first franchise.
It is my first
It
franchise.
is. So you're like me. It's my very first. I don't think it's going to be my last. But certainly, as you think about the what you've learned along this journey, from beginning to where you are now, what what has this experience taught you about franchising in general?
It has taught me a lot about business in general that I would not have learned as quickly, I think. But it has exposed me to people that I would never, ever have met through networking and other business ventures. What it has taught me about franchising is that you need to learn as much as you possibly can before you sign on the dotted line. And whatever that takes, make sure you read the fine print, you read your FDDs, you bring in a franchise attorney to review it, and you don't just take everything verbatim. You need to negotiate and make amendments. You put that out there if something doesn't feel right to you.
You know, um, I did not. I'll be honest. I did not know that that was possible. And I think one of my personal mistakes was that I did not leverage an attorney. And I know that there are different types of attorneys. Um, and I thought I did the darndest good job. I mean, I read every single line. I had question after question. Um, of course, to sign the dotted line, only to learn that there's still a whole lot more. I've got folks in my area here in Essex, Maryland, roughly 3 or 4 different franchise businesses. They're non-tutoring businesses, and it's something to walk in and speak with them, kind of business owner to business owner, and realize we're all in the same boat.
Yep.
As business owners, individuals that are beholden to a franchisor, we are really in the exact same boat. I was just talking to the guy who owns Detail Garage right around my house, place that I go to get, some of my car wash stuff.
Yep.
That I like to detail cars. That's what I do for my stress relief. I go outside and I detail a car, and I can do that bad boy all day, Jeff.
Take care of that car.
But he was asking me about my business, and I was like, man, I said, I wish I would have just read a little bit more. I wish I would have asked this. He was like, dude, same thing with me. He was like, it wasn't until we truly not necessarily got in bed with the franchisor, but it wasn't until things started to break. It's kind of like, you don't know what kind of car you have until that bad boy breaks.
Breaks down.
It's not until that bad boy breaks on the side of the road and you really start to get under the hood to really determine what is it that I really, really have. So I am with you. I think that's one thing that I have learned is read the fine print and just I almost kind of, I'm thinking about this now, just because kind of like the kids that we tutor, we go out to them because the parents can't really help them. It's not that the schools can't help them, resources are stretched, but when students need assistance from an academic standpoint, what do we tell them? We tell them reach out to individuals who specialize. And how much different, and again, it's not to say whether we would stick with whether we would, not sign on a dotted line with Tutor Doctor. That's not a question. It's a matter of leverage the expertise that's around you. And I think that's something that you said. Can you talk a little bit? You said, when you said a franchise attorney, how's a franchise attorney different from a business attorney, if you will?
Because these franchise attorneys have reviewed so many different franchise documents, so many different FDDs, and they're very involved with what's going on in the franchise world. They know the ins and outs. They know the lawsuits. They know who won and who lost. They know what's going on in the franchise world. Not all attorneys, business attorneys know that.
Wow. I've met some passionate people. I really have. I've met some passionate folks. Around, I'm passionate when it comes to teaching and learning. I will sit in a client consultation and I could tell you, I'm more passionate about the teaching and learning of the child than I am about the business books that I have to do. Quick books.
I hear you. I get it.
That kind of stuff just doesn't faze me one bit. And I've seen you passionate around things such as, previously, we were talking about the fair franchising seal. Let's not even think about whether it's some type of seal or certification. Let's just use the terminology, fair franchising. Yeah. What is fair franchising?
Fair franchising is all about the relationship between the franchisor and the franchisees, right? How open it is, how fair the franchisor is toward the franchisees. In a moment of pandemic, for example, in a moment of the franchisee not being able to pay their royalties, any type of situation, is fairness happening within the fair franchise system? Or is there unfair business practices going on?
Gotcha. So you said something, I think the key word that you pointed out was relationship. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody, at least I like to believe that in general, no franchisor is out to get somebody and vice versa. No franchisee is out to, make the franchisor look bad. Fair franchising almost sounds like it's something where everybody wins.
Yeah, it's not about making somebody good or bad. It's about, for me, it's about the value of our businesses that we have worked so hard and put our sweat and blood and everything into maintaining the value of our business, so that when we go to sell it, which is hopefully what we all ultimately will want to do one day, that it either maintains or increases in value and we're able to sell it. To me, that is something that you need to think about as you're walking into purchasing. You always have to think about, your exit strategy. And it's something that I did not do in the beginning. And I learned it is important because we're talking about values that's one of our key values as a tutor doctor. We have to talk about the value of our business and at least maintaining and increasing that value. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Wow, it's amazing that you say that, because I was just talking to my son. I just dropped him off an algebra program. And I was talking to him about appreciating assets versus depreciating assets. And I was making that correlation to him with what he's doing in this algebra course, understanding slope, whether slope is positive versus whether slope is negative. And ideally, you want to do investments where your slope is positive, where you're gaining
100%.
some type of return on investment. And certainly if the business, I'm like you, exit strategy was nowhere in my mind when I started Tutor Doctor.
Yep.
It was nowhere I never even thought, because again, that's not my passion. My passion is not really business per se. It's helping the kids. I'm like, I just want to help kids for as long as the Lord allows me to help kids. And if it happens to be through Tutor Doctor, but I never thought about exit strategy. I never thought about what comes next and how to build it. But if there is value in it for me, and there are fair franchising practices that benefit both the franchisor and the franchisee, then ultimately, and I'm looking at in the background, the logo, whatever franchise it is, the value of the business increases such that it makes it easier, or all of a sudden, the franchisor doesn't have to go out and solicit business. It really becomes other people go, I want to be a part of that brand. I want to be a part of that business model. Wow.
Exactly.
Amazing. Within the past few months, there have been some amazing things, some interesting things, I'm going to say, that's been happening on Capitol Hill, the federal level. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And who are some of the key players that you've come across in this arena?
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about what I'm doing right now, is because finally, there's a couple of senators, one particular. Her name is Senator Cortes-Masto, who has brought it, along with a franchisee advocate who we have had actively speaking to us on the IATDF board, bringing to the attention of the FTC in the US government what's been going on in the franchise world and the unfair business practices that are going on in specific franchise. And we're not the only ones, as you brought up before. We're not the only ones. There have been major complaints filed that are finally being brought to the attention of the FTC because of the commissioner of the FTC has been brought into his awareness how important what's been going on in the franchise world has been. And it's not just newly purchased franchises. It's when we go to resell and we go further down the line, and the whole journey of the franchisee throughout their franchise agreement. It is a key topic right now in the FTC. Their eyes have been opened. They are actively focusing on this right now, and it is a big topic within the FTC and Congress.
Wow. How is this, thinking about that, how is that different from, I think it was the fair franchising seal that we were once pursuing? How is it different?
It's totally different in that this is in the Congress of the US right now.
Okay.
This is way bigger than the IATDF or the Association of Franchises. This is in the Congress. This is in the government. This is in the FTC. And it's the opportunity right now to open some more eyes and have Congress, senators, head of the FTC take a look at what's truly going on in the franchise world.
So if I had to paraphrase or kind of put that into and again, I've really, really been trying to wrap my head around this, because I think at the end of the day, regardless of where we are, laws change, et cetera, what can be, if I think about the fair franchising seal, to me, that seems to be that would have been kind of micro. Um,
Micro,
that would have just been a relationship between franchisor and franchisee of tutor doctor.
right.
It
This is
seems
going
that
to
this was,
impact, this
yeah.
is going to impact franchisors, franchisees throughout the US.
So that means if I decide to sell my business or keep my business with Tutor Doctor and take on another franchising business, this has implications for any other franchising opportunity. And honestly, I don't think about not necessarily just me, but I have 4 children. Who's to say, they're watching their dad, maneuver this thing, especially my older ones. Who's to say, and we know sometimes, once things become law, Senate, House of Representative, and all that other kind, it doesn't just impact today. It can provide lasting impact, sometimes.
100%.
So that means this could have implications. If my son wants to start a franchise with Chick-fil-A or whatever, the work that's happening right now at Capitol Hill can very well impact various decisions or what may be available to him later on down the line.
Absolutely. And these, eyes need to be opened, because franchising has run kind of,
Yeah.
not underground, but at a certain place all these years. And there is something called the franchise rule. And there's a lot of things, states have their own mandates as well that we need to know about. Everybody in different states in the US need to know. And, we're going to be posting Senator Cortes-Masto's franchise information, as well as I'm going to try to get a hold of her video. And the video of the commissioner of the FTC was very impactful from the summit we had a couple weeks ago. And everybody really needs to look at it and see what's going on in the Congress of the US.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's a report that's available. We're going to attach that report to
Yeah.
any of our constituents who are looking at this. I read through the report. Granted, I glossed through it, but your hands have kind of been dirty in the muddy waters with this thing. With this particular report, what stood out to you? What stood out most to you?
That if there's something going on in our franchise world that they need to know about, it needs to be reported.
Yeah.
And we need to speak out. And I'm very passionate about that, as you know, and I'm doing all I can to bring it to the attention of the FTC.
Wow. The last question that I have, at the end of the day, is always a call to action. At least I like to believe so. And we can, and I'm physically doing this. We can sit around and twiddle our thumbs and just kind of maintain, the status quo in our own isolated world, our own box. We know that things don't move fast on Capitol Hill. They take time, but we also know that they're listening.
They're listening right now.
As business owners, and again, I don't know if neither you nor I really know the lives of our fellow Tutor Doctor franchise business owners. They may very well own other franchises that we don't know about.
And I know some that do. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you tell them? What is it that they can do to support the work, to inform, provide feedback, if you will, not necessarily complaint, but provide feedback on Capitol Hill? How do they go about doing that?
So I just had a thought go through my head, because this is going out to franchisees and they're going to watch it. First of all, you guys out there, I'm not the only one working on this. I've got a group of people that feel just as passionate about it as I do. So if there's out there a mole that's going to report this to home office, whatever, okay? Because it's going to get, it's not me that's doing this. It's a group of us that feel very passionate about bringing what's fair and equitable to the franchise industry as a whole, because I want my business to have a value. I've put my heart and soul and money into it, as have most of you. And we want that, to maintain and not increase its value. So it's me and a team of people. It's not just me.
Yeah.
Second of all, what I would tell them is they need to take a really, really close analyzing look at their FDDs throughout the years, because as we know in tutor doctor world, things change, right? And you need to see how things are changing. Is it equitable? Is it fair? Could be legal. It could be legal, but that doesn't necessarily mean that how it's impacting the franchisees is fair,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to take a really, really strong look at the FDDs and the franchise agreements in whatever franchise, that you own.
Yeah.
And if something as a business person or as a person doesn't sit right with you or doesn't feel equitable, you need to come together as an association and talk about it and try to impact change.
Yeah. Not too long ago, Jessica, there was I can't, forgive me, I cannot recall the name of it. There was a survey that was put out, I think, by the senators from Capitol, something to inform. Is that survey still valuable right now?
Absolutely. Oh, that was put out by the association.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is survey, I believe, is still open and active. And I think you posted it. It's very important for people to answer these things.
Yep.
You know what? We've got to do what we feel in our heart is the right thing to do, is what is right and equitable, and not react and not act on fear. Because fear is not going to get us anywhere.
Absolutely. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy.
Thank you, Simeon. It really,
schedule today, but thank you so much for.
It means a lot for us to get our voice out there, and anybody that wants to talk to us on the association, and I'm gonna try to get the videos, because I think that'll be really impactful for people to see.
Awesome. Well, fellow franchisees of Tutor Doctor, thank you so much for taking a moment just to
Thanks, everybody.
hear out. We appreciate you. If you guys got any questions, any feedback, feel free to post it in the comments, create the dialogue. That's the only way that we'll get better. Again, whether it's Tutor Doctor or not, that's the only way that we'll get better as business owners in general. You guys be blessed and have an amazing week.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, Simeon.